Well, thanks for joining us on Bloomberg Quint. Now, Ebix has offered to acquire India's online travel platform Yatra for about $336 million. Now, to talk more about the rationale of this deal, joining me is Robin Raina. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Ebix. Robin, thank you for joining us and speaking to Bloomberg Quint. I'll begin by asking you about why Yatra, and you're also offering a premium. Why is that so?
Well, look, I think it's first of all, premium is a relative thing. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So having said that, if you look at the Yatra stock price, it's varied in the last 12 months between $3.71 and $8.12. So at some point, you have to be pragmatic about your offer. Having said that, when we look at our travel portfolio today, before Yatra, we conduct around $2.5 billion of GMV, gross merchandise value today. The moment you add Yatra to it, we would basically be an undisputed number one in B2B, corporate, and so on. And we would conduct around $4 billion of GMV. So for us, it made sense. But what ultimately made sense, see, it's all about shareholder value. On one side, clearly, the fact that we're offering such a good premium, it offers tremendous value to Yatra shareholders. But when you look at an Ebix shareholder, we will inherit around $150 million of revenue and growing. And we believe post synergies, we will get around 30%, $45 million of operating income, which basically translates into 25 to 30 cents of diluted EPS. So it kind of made sense for us.
Do you also have a backup plan in place in case the deal doesn't go through? Are you looking to increase the share price or whatever you're offering as a part of the deal to Yatra?
I think our offers, first of all, are always very firm. If you look at the last 20 years, we have a legacy of not countering and doing all that. That's first. But I don't think that's going to happen. I personally believe that it's such a generous offer that it's very difficult for a Yatra board not to accept it. That's how I feel presently.
How do you aim to turn around Yatra ship? Now, Yatra has reported a profit for the quarter, but it is yet to report full year profit. Now, how do you aim to turn around the ship, and what plans do you have for Yatra?
So I'll tell you, first of all, let's take a step back. And I bought companies in distress, and Yatra is not in distress by any means. I bought 13 companies in distress and converted them into 35% operating income margin companies. And that's a history that I'm fairly proud of. So when I look at Yatra is not in distress. Yatra's management has done all the right things. They have reduced their costs. They have tried to increase their revenues. They're starting to get out of businesses that don't make sense. So I feel they've already taken the right steps. And now when you synergize the businesses, to give you a very simple example, if there are two finance groups, there won't be two finance groups. There won't be two HR groups, because this will ultimately be one company. When you merge Yatra into our Ebix cash operations in India, you take out the cost of the audits and the HRs and the finance, and technologies will become constant, whichever technology survives, whether ours or theirs, it doesn't matter, it's one company. At the end of the day, you synergize and you have common call centers and those kind of things. And the consumer gets tremendous value at the end of the day. And the providers get better value, and you in the process are becoming more and more efficient and make more money. So we see that post synergies, we feel that there is 3 to 6 months of work that will be required. And we have a plan that we would want to execute. And we believe we can convert Yatra into a 30% operating margin company.
And what about the competition? The online travel market still dominated by Make My Trip, which has the largest market share. Give me a sense of how do you think the competition will play out, and how do you position Yatra?
Look, the competition, there's only one ultimately left after that in terms of larger size, and that is Make My Trip. But when you consider Make My Trip, I think they're in different. I like to believe that they are playing a different ball game by their own rules. I don't want to play the game by their rules or in that manner. See, when somebody runs $500 million operation and loses $220 million a year, it's very difficult to compete against them, unless I decide to do the same. That's not my plan. I want to make 30% operating margins or more. Right. So I'm going to do it my way. If that means we won't reach the revenue level of a Make My Trip, that's okay. I don't have a problem. I don't want my company to be larger than the next company just for the sake of it. I want it to be backed by cash. I want it to be backed with operating income. So Make My Trip has done a great job in certain ways, but they're a B2C player. Whereas Ebix prime focus always has been B2B, corporates. Why? Because look, the challenge with B2C always is you need to throw a lot of money. What you do is, what Ebix strategy is, we first build up our B2B. When you build up a very strong B2B, you're going to get recurring revenue. That revenue continues to happen. Operating income continues to happen. Now you can experiment on B2C side. You can use the money you earn out of B2B. You can play more, but you can do it very intelligently rather than going haywire, because you're not dependent on B2C. Whereas companies which are only do B2C are heavily dependent. So they want to give away money. I always give this example that if I want to stand outside Ebix office and I start handing over 1,000 rupees to anybody who passes by and say, become my client, I'll give you 1,000 rupees. What do you think? Almost everybody will accept that 1,000 and become my client. But will that be a recurring client? I got them as a client by paying 1,000 rupees. I don't think I earned anything in the process. And how do I convert that customer into a recurring client? That guy is used now to getting 1,000 rupees. Every time, the day I stop giving him him or her 1,000 rupees, he may or may not be my client. It might bring valuation to the company in the short term, because sometimes private equity, today unfortunately in India, some of the private equity has valued companies with this paradigm happening. I don't think when I run Ebix, I can't just cater to private equity. That's not how you build fundamentally strong companies. You build fundamentally strong companies who produce cash, that have recurring revenues. You don't think about valuation. Valuation should be a byproduct of it, right? So you're talking to somebody who takes his salary in stock, who hasn't sold his stock. I own stock since 31 cents to 50 cents in the Ebix. And I don't sell my stock I've been here for 2 decades now and I haven't been selling my stock. So why? Because I have fundamental faith in my company. If I start giving away money for the sake of valuation, I might think I'm getting richer as a shareholder, but are those riches going to last? The only way things can last you is if you build fundamentally strong things which you have to create a cash machine that just creates cash every day. And that's my focus. So I don't want to be competing for the sake of competing.
Also, are you looking to inject fresh capital? You mentioned that you're looking to scale up operation as well, and Yatra has, trimmed down operation as well. Are you looking to inject some capital to scale up operations and to also, given that the market is highly competitive?
So look, meaning any business needs working capital. So of course we'll fund it a working capital, but part of our offer is that they're going to leave $25 million of cash in the business, but we'll also inject capital. It's a capital intensive business. All the travel businesses are capital intensive. So you have to fund all the GMV that when you buy a ticket for example, from an airline, you have to fund that, and then you have to collect the money in 15 days or whatever. So that's part of the business model we have. I don't think there is any big need, frankly, to inject money into Yatra today, that as we see it. Simply because Yatra, the money is not their present issue. Right. Their present issue was that there's a number, they do a lot of hotel subsidies, which actually cost them losses on the other side. If you look at their B2B businesses, they're very strong. They're doing very well in their B2B corporate businesses. It's just that on the B2C side, they were competing with other players and they decided to do what the others did, which is to subsidize. The moment you stop that subsidy, meaning the company is actually doing very well. Right. So I don't think there is a dire distress need in Yatra at all. You're talking about a company with a very strong brand equity, and that's part of the reason why we made this offer.